Welcome back to Carneades.org. Today we're going to be continuing our series, Dumbfounding Definitions, Dizzying Distinctions, and Diabolical Doctrines, a series sorting through some of the jargon of philosophy. In this video, we're going to be answering the question, what is philosophical anarchism? And the puzzle of authority. Well, now let's take a look. So one of the central questions in political philosophy asks, where does the authority of our political institutions come from? Many of us take for granted that you should follow the law, but where does that should really come from? Where do you get the moral authority being a political institution to prescribe things for ordinary citizens? Does it come from the consent of the governed? Does it come from divine right, as some kings may claim that it does? Does it come from natural law? The philosophical anarchist does not think that political institutions have authority at all. Basically, they're saying it doesn't come from any of those things because they don't have authority in the first place. Or, to be more specific, they lack the belief that we have an ethical duty to follow the commands of the state. Or they do not claim that we have a moral obligation to obey the state. Now, before you think of this in terms of general anarchists, you should understand this doesn't necessarily imply kind of the usual chaos that one might associate with anarchists. The philosophical anarchist does not necessarily claim that the state is evil or it should be abolished, and they surely don't claim that violence should be taken against institutions of the state, though other anarchists may. Merely that it lacks the moral authority to rule. That if you break the law, you're not necessarily doing something wrong. A philosophical anarchist might, for example, judge all of the laws of the state to be just or correct, and therefore obey them. But not because the state made them, but rather because they're aligned with the philosophical anarchist's personal moral compass. If the state were to make a law which disagreed with that compass, the philosophical anarchist would not claim that they have a duty to obey it. To give a little bit of justification for this and to understand the puzzle of authority, let's take a look. So, it was proposed originally by Robert Paul Wolff, and effectively it claims that we have a duty to be morally autonomous. In other words, to act in accordance with our own moral compass and assess each situation individually. Basically, what we're saying is that you have a duty to act however you feel is ethically right. If you act against your own moral compass, you're doing something wrong. That action could be considered wrong because it's against your own moral compass. But this duty seems to directly conflict with the duty to obey commands from authority regardless of their content. Because, as we noted, even though it might be the case that the authority only gives you commands that you already agree with, if the authority gives you a command that you disagree with, then that seems in direct conflict with your duty to have moral autonomy. If an authority tells us to do one thing, but our conscience tells us to do another, what should we do? Is the basic question here. If the state tells me it's good to do X and my conscience tells me it's good to do Y, what should I do if X and Y are in conflict? What's morally right? According to Wolff and the philosophical anarchists, we must obey our own morality and doubt the authority of the state. Now, as a skeptic, I could be technically classified as a philosophical anarchist. Not because I think that my morality is better than the state's, but because I'm skeptical of morality to begin with, and the official definition aligns more with just lacking the belief that the state has moral authority. I lack any beliefs, so of course I'm going to lack that belief as well. What about you? Should you follow your own moral compass, or do you have a duty to obey the state, even when you disagree? Offer your answers to these questions in the comments below. Watch this video and more here at Carneades.org, and stay skeptical, everybody.